Hello and welcome to VNA News Daily Bulletin. Coming up next, we have your top stories.
Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng pays tribute to President Ho Chi Minh. Government approves project to preserve value of ancient wood blocks. Craftsman makes tireless efforts to revive fading art.
On February 11th, the fourth day of the Lunar New Year festival, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng offered incense in tribute to President Ho Chi Minh and planted trees at a memorial to the late leader in Hanoi's Ba Vì suburban district.
The incense offering is in line with Vietnam's tradition of paying tribute to ancestors and to those who contributed to the nation on the occasion of the Lunar New Year. Đá Trông Historical Relic Site is located about 70 kilometers from downtown Hanoi to the west on the Ba Vì mountain range. In May 1957, President Ho Chi Minh decided to choose it as a place to work and rest for the party's Central Committee. Many decisions and instructions of the Party Central Committee were issued here, contributing to the liberation of the South and the national reunification in 1975. After President Ho Chi Minh passed away on September 2, 1969, his embalmed body was preserved in Đá Trông, also known by its secret code K9, until his mausoleum in Ba Đình Square was completed in August 1975. On this occasion, the party chief planted a tree in front of President Ho Chi Minh's house for working at the relic site.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng has approved a project on preserving and improving value of Nguyễn Dynasty wood blocks, a documentary heritage item recognized by the UNESCO.
The project aims to improve the public's knowledge about the block's contents and value. In addition, the project will also raise awareness about the role and value of archives. The Nguyễn Dynasty's wood blocks are part of a collection of nearly 35,000 wood blocks dating from 1697 to 1945. They were used to print literary and historical documents. In its first phase, from 2016 to 2020, the project will focus on producing publications to introduce the Nguyễn Dynasty's wood blocks, building a website on the document and training those working on the project. Restoration of broken wood blocks, upgrades of management software, documentary filming, conferences and wood block lessons at school will be included in the second phase from 2021 to 2025.
The central coastal city of Da Nang has recently introduced its new tourism products that will be implemented this year to attract more travelers.
The Da Nang City Department of Culture, Sports and Tourism said the new products include the Thần Tài Hot Spring, the Asia Park, Bana Hill Phase 2, the Da Nang Arts Museum, new Han River Tours, international events, other new art performances, and a wine festival. Da Nang's Asia Park is becoming increasingly popular with unique entertainment areas and festivals of some regional countries. The theme park already boasts the nation's largest indoor entertainment area and the Sun Wheel, which is one of the 10 highest observation wheels in the world. The city will also welcome the International Clipper team and numerous events, including the International Tourism Fair and the Asian Beach Games.
Bloomberg News has reported Vietnam's economy is forecast to expand 6.7% this year, the same pace as in 2015. While the world's largest emerging economies, including Russia, Brazil and China, falter, Vietnam's steady economic growth at near 7% this year will make it among the fastest growing markets in the world.
According to Bloomberg, rising domestic demand and booming foreign direct investment are helping Vietnam counter a global threat that has sparked a wave of stock selling and currency depreciation this year. That comes as the country begins a leadership transition this week that will set the tone for economic reform and growth. The Communist Party's draft socio-economic plan for 2016 to 2020 shows the nation will target as much as 7% average annual expansion. In a report released earlier this month, Australia and New Zealand Banking Group said Vietnam is positioned to have another stellar year in 2016. Nonetheless, the long-term outlook will depend on the outcome of the political changes expected over the next 12 months. The central bank's recent efforts to make the exchange rate more flexible will also strengthen macroeconomic stability and help ease pressure on reserves. Meanwhile, official data showed private consumption rose 9.3% last year. Disbursed foreign direct investment surged 17.4% to a record high of $14.5 billion last year from 2014. Vietnam's stock market has also attracted foreign investors, with overseas investors net buyers for the 10th consecutive year in 2015. The draft plan shows the government of Vietnam aiming to lift gross domestic product per capita to $3,200 to $3,500 by 2020, compared with the International Monetary Fund's estimate of about $2,171 in 2015. Inflation will be kept below 5% and the budget deficit capped at 4% of GDP.
The agricultural sector plans to slash rice cultivation by 100,000 hectares in 2016 to grow other grains used to feed animals. More on the following report.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, about 7.6 to 7.7 million hectares of land will be set aside for rice cultivation, with a total yield of 44.5 million tons. The sector will enhance quality while reducing costs of rice production by using high-quality varieties with high value and applying comprehensive cultivating methods. The ministry will continue projects of restructuring the rice sector and building rice trademarks, together with developing such plants as cashew, pepper, tea, cassava, fruit trees, vegetables, and flowers, which have good markets. In addition, the ministry will enlarge maize planting areas to 1.22 million hectares, up 22,000 hectares from 2015. A high-yield variety will go into mass production, with a total expected yield of 5.5 million tons.
The agricultural and rural development sector expects to gain $39 to $40 billion from farming, forestry and aquatic products, with an average growth rate of 3% in its gross domestic product by 2020.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, the sector aims for an export turnover of $31 billion and a GDP growth rate at 3 to 3.5% this year. To gain its target this year and beyond, the agricultural sector will focus on restructuring itself and improving its value and efficiency of production. In addition, the sector will put more investment into the processing industry, especially deep processing and post-harvest preservation, to reduce losses after harvesting and increase the added value of farming products. The ministry will continue improving the efficiency of management for agricultural material, food hygiene and safety to create favorable conditions for export and consumption of farm production. It will also improve controls on quality, food hygiene and safety for farming, forestry and fishery products for export. During the 2011 to 2015 period, the cumulative export turnover in agroforestry aquatic products reached $140.6 billion, with an average annual growth rate of 9%. Compared to 2010, the export turnover of these products rose 54.6% to $30.14 billion in 2015.
To make a musical instrument is no less of an art than the act of chiseling away at rock to make a sculpture. This applies in particular to Dao Xuân Soạn, an artisan from a village in the outskirts of Hanoi. Our next story shows Mr. Soan's work and his life's mission to preserve an ancient tradition in today's fast-paced modern world. Vietnam is home to hundreds of traditional instruments, with no more than 30 being widely known, such as the monochord, the Vietnamese zither, or the cylindrical drum. Strolling the streets in downtown Hanoi, it is not difficult to find a shop where you can buy or just contemplate Vietnamese traditional musical instruments. However, if you wish to know how a musical instrument is made, join us in our trip to Dao Sa village in Ung Hoa district. For more than 200 years, Dao Sa village has produced numerous musical instrument makers, but their number has dwindled dramatically, with only one man left to carry the torch today. Born into a long line of musical instrument makers, Dao Xuân Soạn is a natural at bringing music to life. Now in his 70s, Mr. Soạn has devoted over 40 years to the art of crafting musical instruments. Despite a series of ups and downs, his little shop in Dao Sa village has never failed to produce high-quality pieces of art.
This job has been around for over 200 years. Artisans in Dao Sa villages originally flocked from north to south, but today's youth are losing interest since the job requires an eye for beauty and patience. This is why I continuously motivate my son and son-in-law to preserve the art form. The toughest part of this job is the duration of training. It takes far too long to learn how to make all the instruments. I started work as a driver, but since nobody else could carry on the family tradition, I have decided to learn from my father.
It doesn't take an enthusiast to appreciate the meticulous details in crafting traditional musical instruments. Take this Vietnamese zither for example. The wood needs to be collected and then dried for nearly 2 years before it can be used. Next, a number of steps have to be followed, from making the resonator to crafting the pearl inlaid. It takes an average of 3 days for an artisan like Soạn to make a single instrument.
The basic principle of making a perfect instrument is choosing the right wood. You have to know just by holding the piece of wood what kind of sound it will produce.
Nguyễn Văn Liên is a musician and a close friend of Mr. Soãn's family. From time to time, the two artisans put their work aside and talk about the instruments.
In my humble opinion, Mr. Soãn's musical instruments have a unique sound, especially since he's not a musician himself. We musicians are very impressed by his talent.
People who love traditional musical instruments travel from far away to Dao Sa village just to buy a high-quality instrument from Mr. Soạn.
I know a little bit about music. I have visited many music shops, but I have full faith in Mr. Soãn's work.
Vietnam is opening up to regional economic integration and globalization, which puts cultural wealth at risk of being forgotten. As such, artisans like Dao Xuân Soạn are fighting an endless battle to conserve a traditional art form in order to ensure that ancient cultural values are not swept up in the current of modernization and industrialization. We have reached the end of our news bulletin. Thank you for your attention. For more information, please log on to our website at www.vietnamplus.vn. We'll see you soon.